Hello viewers, in my previous video on branches of psychology, I did mention about educational psychology as one of the subfields or branches of psychology. In today's video, we shall try to understand another very important topic relevant to teacher education, and that is educational psychology in detail. Now, today we shall cover the meaning, nature, and definition and the scope of educational psychology. First of all, we need to know that educational psychology is an applied branch of psychology. Teachers, especially new teachers in the field of teaching, have many significant questions. It is not just about the content or the syllabus which answers the question on what to teach, but it is mostly about how to teach, how to deliver, which teaching techniques would be best suited to a bunch of pupils. How can I bring more clarity to my teaching of concepts? How can I enhance stimulus variation in the class so that my students are more attentive? How do I enrich my teaching? And if I'm teaching as a teacher substantially well, then how is that some students underperform and have problems at school? All such questions are extremely common amongst teachers from time to time. Now let us dig deep into the meaning and nature of educational psychology. Educational psychology primarily addresses two questions. That is, why do some individuals or students learn more or better than the other, and what can be hence done to improve teaching learning process? These are the basic two questions. According to earlier psychologists, the function of education was to study the nature, origin, and destiny of the human soul. But soul is something that is metaphysical. It cannot be seen, it cannot be observed and touched, and we cannot make scientific experiments on the soul. In the 18th century, psychology was understood as the science of the mind. We've already discussed this in our previous video. William James in 1892 defined psychology as the science of mental processes. But the word mind is also quite ambiguous, as there was confusion regarding the nature and functions of the mind. Modern psychologists defined psychology as the science of consciousness. James Sully, 1884, defined psychology as the science of the inner world. William Wundt in 1892 defined psychology as the science which studies the internal experiences. But there are three levels of consciousness, that is the conscious, subconscious, and the unconscious. And so this definition also was not really accepted by some people at that time. So to put it across humorously, psychology first lost its soul, then its mind, and then its consciousness. At present, only its behavior exists. Behavior generally means overt activities which can be observed and measured scientifically. But one's behavior is always influenced by his experiences. So when we study one's behavior, we must also study his experiences. Educational psychology is that branch of psychology in which the findings of psychology are applied in the field of education. It is the scientific study of human behavior in educational settings. According to Charles E. Skinner, educational psychology deals with the behavior of human beings in educational situations. Thus, educational psychology is a behavioral science with two main references: human behavior and education. Educational psychology is concerned primarily with understanding the process of teaching and learning that take place within formal environments and developing ways of improving those methods. It covers important topics like learning theories, teaching methods, motivation, cognitive, emotional, and moral development, and parent-child relationships, and many more like this. We can list the following key points about the nature of educational psychology. First, educational psychology is a science. Now, a science is a branch of study concerned with observation of facts and establishment of verifiable general laws. Science employs certain objective methods for the collection of data. It has its objectives of understanding, explaining, predicting, and control of facts. Hence, like any other science, educational psychology has also developed objective methods of collection of data. It also aims at understanding, predicting, and controlling human behavior. The next key function or feature is educational psychology is a natural science. An educational psychologist conducts his investigations, gathers his data, and reaches his conclusions in exactly the same manner as a chemist, a physicist, or a microbiologist. The third point is educational psychology is a social science. In other words, an educational psychologist studies human beings and their social context. The fourth one is educational psychology is a positive science. Normative science like logic or ethics deals with facts as they ought to be. A positive science deals with facts as they are or as they operate. Educational psychology studies the child's behavior as it is, not as it should be. It aims to accept all types of learners and school pupils. So it is a positive science. The fifth one is educational psychology is an applied science. I already said this earlier. It is the application of psychological principles in the field of education. By applying the principles and techniques of psychology, it tries to study the behavior and experiences of the pupils. The sixth point is educational psychology is not a perfect science. It has its own drawbacks. It is quite variable and at times it cannot claim objectivity. The next one is educational psychology is a developing or growing science. It is concerned with new and ever new researches. It accepts novelty and change. As research findings come to light, educational psychologists get better insight into the child's nature and behavior. So, educational psychology is an applied, positive, social, specific and practical science, while general science deals with behavior of the individuals in various spheres. Educational psychology studies the behavior of the individual in educational spheres only. Although there are quite a few definitions of educational psychology, I would like you to learn and understand the definition given by Crow and Crow. According to Crow and Crow, 1973, educational psychology describes and explains the learning experiences of an individual from birth through old age. Please read it from the screen one more time. Now that we are done with the meaning, definition and nature of educational psychology, let us now try to understand the scope of educational psychology. There are some key factors or important areas involved in the scope of educational psychology. Firstly, the learner. Teacher lives revolve around their students. Here we are referring to the student or the pupil. It is important for teachers to know their learners. We need to know our pupils in terms of their aptitudes, individual differences, their talents, their hobbies, their personality. I could say if a teacher knows the capacities of a pupil and can sense and know what are the needs of his or her pupil even before the student opens up about it, she has nailed it as an educator. The next key area is learning experiences. Here we talk about creating the right type of experience for students. It can be achieved through programs, interaction, or any other traditional or non-traditional ways. Learning experience can be anything. It can be something as enriching as a course or healthy communication or even games which help teachers in achieving learning objectives. Educational psychology helps in deciding which or what learning experiences are desirable at what stage of the growth and development of the learner. The next key area is learning processes. Learning process is the next area under the scope of educational psychology, which is very important. After we have figured out our learner and the kind of learning experience, it becomes very crucial to actually execute the learning process and to help the learner in actually acquiring knowledge through the learning experience. The next area is learning situations or environment, which is related to the previous one. When students are at campus, whether if it is in the classroom or the library or the playground, it is a learning environment that they are in. A lot goes down at school. That is why young students at times listen to teachers more than their parents. If the math teacher on the first day of class on addition has said that 2 plus 2 is 4, then that is it. The child may not want to listen to the parent if the parent says that 1 plus 3 is also 4. We have all had such experiences. Students take their learning environment quite seriously. Hence, developing an engaging and positive learning environment for learners is one of the most creative aspects of teaching. The scope of educational psychology here is understood in terms of topics like classroom climate, bullying, guidance, etc. The next area is the teacher. Last but not the least, we can't forget the player, which is the teacher, the educator. Educational psychology throws light on essential personality traits and characteristics of effective teaching. It helps teachers to understand themselves and also their students and help learners in all possible ways to attain utmost perfection on the path of learning. Please do like and share my videos and do subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.